Today we're talking about 8.2 rates, day 2. On Friday, we did go over the first part of this, so today we're going to be going over the second part of it. We talked about these two vocab words on Friday. The first one is a rate. Read to me what a rate is.
The ratio of two quantities measured in different units.
Okay, so we've got two quantities there. Remember, it's two things, like 1 minute and 30 seconds. That's two separate things, okay? Or it's something like a minute over maybe a distance or something like that. Then we're talking about a unit rate. Read to me what the unit rate says.
A rate that has a denominator of 1.
The main thing you got to remember is we are trying to turn our denominator into being a 1. So we've got a couple examples. These ones look very similar to what we had on Friday. First one says $54 in 6 hours. So how would I do that as a fraction? Okay, make sure you put the units there. $54 over 6 hours. If you remember from Friday, our whole goal is to turn the denominator into a 1. What do I have to do to turn my denominator into a 1?
Divide by the same number, that's your denominator.
Okay, divide by the denominator. So divide by 6. Do I do it just on the top or just on the bottom?
Do the same thing to both.
Do it to both of them. 9 what?
Over 1. $9 over 1 hour.
$9 over 1 hour, okay? There is a way to write this, $9 over 1 hour. That means $9 per hour. When you see this fraction bar, it says per, okay? So read it to me how it should be written. Go ahead. $9 per hour. Okay, you could say per 1 hour or per hour. Either one does not matter to me. Let's go on to the next one. 2 cups and 8 servings. Let's say that I'm trying to make some pudding, okay? I'm putting it into 8 different serving cups. I've got 2 cups of sugar total to make my pudding, but I want to know how much sugar is going into 1 serving. So help me out. How do I put this into a fraction, Addison?
2 cups.
You are correct. Thank you for telling me the units there, because you always have to have the units. If you don't have the units, then it will be incorrect. Now, it's asking me to find a unit rate. Whenever I find the unit rate, Jakari, what does the denominator have to be? 1. So how do I get this to turn into a denominator of 1? I don't want to divide by 2. If I have to divide by 8, do I do it just to the top, just to the bottom, or to both? Do it to both of them. So divided by 8 on top, divided by 8 on bottom. What do I get, guys?
0.25 cups over per 1 serving.
Okay, 0.25 cups per serving. So as I'm eating it, and I'm eating my little cup of sugar, or my cup of pudding, I'm getting 0.25 cups of sugar in it. The main thing you've got to remember is tell me what those units are. Okay, tell me the cups, tell me the serving. You want to keep the units there in order for your answer to be correct. For number 2, it says determine which one is the better buy. So let's say that I go to a place that sells things in bulk. What's a store that sells things in bulk?
Wendy's.
Think about, like, they sell really big things. Sam's Club
Costco.
and Costco. Okay, Costco is my personal favorite for sure. But let's say that I go to Sam's Club or Costco and I buy bulk pasta. That just means you get a lot of it, okay? How many of you guys have a membership to one of those two? And when you leave, you're typically leaving with really big boxes, okay? So you buy it in bulk. So let's say I need to get some pasta. I go there. They have 10 pounds for $15. Okay, or I go somewhere else like you guys had mentioned, like Publix or Winn-Dixie, and I just get a package of pasta. It's 2 pounds for $3.98. I'm trying to figure out which one is my better buy or my better deal. So the first thing you got to do is turn it into a fraction. Kayla, how do I do my bulk pasta as a fraction?
You do 10 pounds over $15.
Good job. 10 pounds over $15. So now my goal is to, once again, find the unit rate. Mason, what do I do to get the unit rate?
You divide by the 15.
Okay, $15 on top and on bottom. what is my unit rate?
0.6 repeat per one.
Okay, thank you for saying pounds. 0.6 repeating pounds for or per dollar. Okay, so that's my first thing. I figured out how much I would get if I only had $1. Okay, now the packaged pasta, I got to turn that into a fraction. What should I do?
Divided by to make the denominator
Okay, so what's my first fraction going to be?
2 pounds per
2 pounds for $3.98. Once again, I'm trying to get the same unit as I did up here. My unit up there is for $1. So I need to turn this into figuring out how much I'm going to get per dollar. What should I divide by?
$3.98.
$3.98 on top and bottom, because whatever I do to the top, I've got to do to the bottom.
It's the big number.
All right, I hear that you're getting a really big number. Here's what you want to do. For me today, just round it to the nearest tenth. So what's my answer?
0.50.
Okay, 0.50 to the nearest tenth would just be 0.5. So what's the full answer?
0.5 per pound.
Over $1.
0.5 pounds per dollar. Whenever you're doing that, the main thing is this little fraction bar right there, that's the thing that says the word per. So, up here, I am getting 0.6 repeating pounds for $1. Down here, I'm getting 0.5 pounds per dollar. What's the better buy?
0.6.
Okay, this right here is my better buy, but I don't want you to write down at the bottom that your answer is 0.6 repeating pounds per dollar. If I asked you what is the better buy, I want you to tell me which kind of pasta is the better buy. So which one is it?
10 lips.
Bulk pasta. Okay, so you're just going to write down bulk pasta
Oh.
is the better buy. Okay, then you're going to go ahead and box your answer in because bulk pasta is the better buy. For number 3, it asks us to find the average speed. So it says here, an athlete ran for 3 hours and 20 minutes to complete a 15-mile race. What was the athlete's average speed? Anytime that I ever ask you to find the average speed, you're going to use this formula right here. So you can put a little cloud around it. It's something that's going to be very important, and you're going to want to have this memorized. The average rate means the same thing as the average speed, and you want to find it by doing distance divided by time. So for abbreviation, A equals D over T. How many of you have heard someone say, I was driving 50 miles per hour? Okay, so you can see the distance is your miles right there, and then your time is hour. Now, you wouldn't say, I was doing 50 miles over 3 hours, okay? You say 50 miles per hour. So that's why I want you to get into that habit of saying per. But go ahead and read me once again what the formula is for average rate.
Distance over time.
Okay, distance over time. And what is it for when you abbreviate it?
A equals D over T.
Okay, so let's put that to memory for us, please. So the first thing it's asking us to do is rewrite the time so the units are the same. I want you guys to underline this for me right here. It says 3 hours and 20 minutes. Are my units the same, yes or no?
No.
No, they're not. One of them says
3 hours.
hours, the other one says. So right now our goal in my instructions, it says rewrite the time so the units are the same. I have to turn my bigger unit into a smaller unit. Which one is the smaller unit?
Minutes.
Minutes. So I have to change my 3 hours into minutes. So we're trying to figure out 3 hours and 20 minutes. My whole goal first is to turn 3 hours into minutes. So you can do that by a fact that we know. Can you guys tell me how many minutes are in an hour?
60 minutes.
Okay, so I've got 3 hours. I'm going to have to multiply 60 minutes over an hour. 60 minutes per hour. Your whole goal is to figure out how many minutes it is, all right? So I've got hours up here, hours down here that kind of can cancel out. What's 3 times 60?
180
Okay, 180 what?
minutes.
180 minutes. So now I have to add what?
20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay? Because this 180 minutes is the same thing as my 3 hours, but I've got to add in my 20 minutes. So how much total time do I have? 200 minutes. That's your final answer. So go ahead and box that in. Because it asked us to find the time so the units are the same. So all I did there was I changed my 3 hours and 20 minutes into a total amount of minutes, which is 200 minutes. B says, find the average speed. What is my formula for finding the average speed or the average rate?
A equals D.
A equals D over T. What does that stand for?
Average
Distance over
rate
time.
equals distance time.
Okay, the average rate or the average speed equals distance over time. So now let's go ahead and plug things in. I am looking for my average speed, so I'm going to keep the A right here. Kayla, what will I write down for my distance?
Distance would be
Look at the original problem. How far was this athlete going?
15 miles.
15 miles. Thank you for saying miles. You have to let me know what it is. You don't want to put down that it was yards or make me assume feet, so make sure you tell me what it is. 15 miles. And what was the time that it took him?
200 minutes.
200 minutes. Remember, could I have put that in there and said 3 hours and 20 minutes?
No.
No, because you have to make sure that you have your units the same. So 15 miles per 200 minutes. You can imagine, I don't want to know how many he did in 200 minutes. I want to know how many he did in what?
15.
In 1 minute. So how do I get that 200 minutes to turn into 1 minute?
Divide.
Divide by what?
200
Just on top or just on
on
bottom?
both sides.
On both of them. Go ahead and do that for me. When I divide that out, what is my answer?
0.05.
75,000.
Really? What?
Okay, help me out. What's my units?
0.075 miles
Per hour. Per minute.
Per minute. Thank you for saying the word per and reading it correctly. Good job. Now, what I saw for some people is they saw that there was a 0 right here and they just decided to get rid of it. So instead they said that the answer was 0.75. Is that the same thing as 0.075? No, it's very different. So please make sure if you've got a 0 there after that decimal point that you keep it there. So it says find the average speed. He went 0.075 miles in 1 minute. Now I want to do just a little bit of a review. This is some stuff that we talked about last week. Number 1 says, write the ratio as a fraction in simplest form. So the first thing you want to do is put it into a fraction and then make it as simple or as reduced as it can go down. How do I write 16 to 48 as a fraction?
16 over 48.
16 over 48. Now, is that in simplest form?
No.
No, I could divide that by what?
16 or 8.
Okay, you could divide it by 16 on top and 16 on bottom. When you do that, what is my simplest form?
1/3.
1/3 is correct. Now, this is a way that we can write a ratio, 16 to 48. You could write it this way, 16 to 48. Does anyone remember the third way to write it? How do you do it?
16 colon.
16. Colon 48. Okay, so all three of those, just as a reminder, this is a way, and this is a way that you could write those ratios. We're going to do one more today. We're going to write some ratios for some of this chart. So I want you guys to go ahead and write this chart down. Take just a couple minutes to write down this slide. We've got a chart here about the Pacers and the Warriors. It shows you how many wins and losses they had in the games that they played. So the first one is asking us to write a ratio for the wins to losses for the Warriors. So make sure you're only looking at the Warriors. And remember, if I've asked you to do wins to losses, you're going to put the wins first and the losses second. So how many wins did the Warriors have?
15. I mean 8.
They had 8. How many losses did they have? 30. Okay, so 8 to 30 is what their ratio is. But every single time you have a ratio, you need to reduce it. So when I reduce this, what do I get?
4/15.
Okay, you divide it by 2 on top and bottom, and you'll get 4 to 15. So that is their ratio for wins to losses. Now we're going to go to problem B. It says write a ratio for losses to games played for the Pacers. So make sure you're looking at the Pacers and not the Warriors. What am I going to write down first? Their losses or their games played?
Losses.
How many losses did they have? 23. Now, does it say up here in my chart anywhere how many games they played? No, it doesn't. So how do I find how many games they played? Add the wins and losses together, and what is that? 38. Can this be reduced at all?
No.
It cannot. So your answer is 23 to 38. The main thing you want to make sure is just always make sure you're reading it from left to right. Do the losses first, and then do the games played second. That'll give you your ratio. Make sure it's reduced. And if that's the case, then you'll be great. And this is all you need to know for your homework tonight. Your homework tonight is 8.2. As always, it's just 10 problems. So you're going to want to do page 376 to 378. And then you'll see the 10 problems there for you to do tonight. And that is all you need to know for your homework tonight and for 8.2.